6 Buddhist Secrets to Overcome Fear and Transform Your Life Instantly. Imagine waking up to a life where fear doesn't dictate your decisions, a life where the paralyzing grip of doubt and anxiety no longer holds you back. What if, instead of hesitating, you embraced every challenge with clarity and a courageous heart? Picture yourself walking into that job interview, not with trembling hands, but with a calm assurance. Visualize relationships built on trust and understanding, free from the insecurities that gnaw at your confidence. Envision pursuing your dreams with boldness, unhindered by the what-ifs that often cloud your path. Now, think about this. How much of your life has been shaped by fear? How many opportunities slipped through your fingers because fear whispered, "You're not ready," or "You'll fail"? For most of us, fear is the silent architect behind too many of our choices, the invisible wall that separates us from the life we truly want. But here's a powerful truth. Fear isn't as solid as it seems. It feels overwhelming, but it's often little more than a trick of the mind, an illusion built on uncertainty and past experiences. And while fear may seem unavoidable, it is not invincible. What if you had the tools to dismantle it, brick by brick? What if you could look fear in the face and say, "You have no power over me"? For over 2,500 years, Buddhist teachings have guided countless individuals toward inner peace and resilience. These aren't abstract ideas reserved for monks meditating in distant mountains. They're practical, timeless lessons rooted in understanding the human experience, lessons that can help you overcome fear, shift your mindset, and unlock a life filled with confidence and freedom. These teachings offer more than hope. They provide a roadmap, a way to see fear for what it truly is, a fleeting shadow, not an immovable mountain. They invite you to embrace life's inevitable changes, to let go of the attachments that tether you to anxiety, and to cultivate patience and mindfulness as your most powerful tools. In this video, we'll explore 6 transformative Buddhist lessons that can change how you perceive fear and equip you to live with courage and grace. These teachings will challenge you to look within, to understand the roots of your fear, and to take the first steps toward a life where fear no longer calls the shots. So, here's the question. Are you ready? Are you ready to step out of fear's shadow and into the light of understanding? Are you prepared to break free from the cycle of worry and embrace the unknown with confidence? If so, this journey is for you. Take a deep breath. Let the weight of your doubts rest for a moment. You've already taken the first step by being here. Let's dive into these timeless lessons and discover how they can transform your fears into fuel for growth and your obstacles into opportunities. Because the life you deserve, the life you dream of, is waiting just beyond your fear. Let's begin. Lesson 1. Embrace impermanence. Imagine standing in the middle of a vast, flowing river. The water rushes past you, never still, always changing. This is life, constantly moving, never the same from one moment to the next. The Buddha taught us that impermanence is the nature of existence. Nothing lasts forever, not our joys, our sorrows, or even our fears. Yet, despite this truth, we often resist change, clinging to the illusion that things should remain as they are. This resistance creates tension and fear. As we grapple with the inevitable shifts of life, consider the moments in your own life when fear has gripped you. Perhaps it was the uncertainty of losing a job, the anxiety of a relationship ending, or the dread of a health scare. These fears, though deeply personal, stem from a universal truth. We are afraid of losing what we hold dear. But let's take a step back and reflect. Is this fear truly rooted in reality? Or is it our attachment to permanence that intensifies it? The reality is, change is not an enemy. It's simply the nature of life. Understanding this can be a profound source of liberation. Imagine the changing seasons. In autumn, the trees shed their leaves, baring their branches to the cold winds of winter. But this loss is not an end. It's a preparation for renewal. Come spring, the trees bloom again, fuller and more vibrant. If nature resists nothing, why do we? Each change in our lives, no matter how challenging, holds the seeds of transformation. The loss of a job may open doors to opportunities you never imagined. The end of a relationship might lead to self-discovery or a new connection. Fear arises when we fixate on what we might lose rather than embrace the possibilities that change can bring. Take a moment to reflect on your life. Think about a time when you faced a significant change that, in hindsight, brought growth or unexpected blessings. Perhaps it was moving to a new city, starting a new job, or even enduring a personal loss. In the moment, the change may have felt unbearable, but as time passed, you adapted, grew stronger, and found new perspectives. This is the essence of impermanence. It reminds us that no state of being, no matter how painful or joyous, is eternal. Let's consider the role of fear in this context. Fear often stems from the mind's attempt to predict and control the future. It thrives on uncertainty, whispering worst-case scenarios into our ears. But here's the truth. Fear is only as powerful as we allow it to be. When we accept that everything in life is temporary, fear loses much of its grip. The challenges we face, the discomfort we feel, and even the fear itself are all fleeting. They will pass, just as a storm eventually gives way to clear skies. One of the most empowering ways to embrace impermanence is to practice mindfulness. When fear arises, it's easy to become consumed by it, letting it dictate our actions and thoughts. But mindfulness creates space, a moment to pause and observe. The next time fear overwhelms you, take a deep breath and ground yourself in the present moment. Notice the sensations in your body, the rhythm of your breath, the world around you. This practice helps you detach from the narrative of fear and recognize it as just another transient experience. Gratitude is another tool that aligns beautifully with the acceptance of impermanence. When you realize that nothing lasts forever, you begin to cherish the present moment more deeply. You savor the laughter of a loved one, the warmth of the sun on your skin, the small victories in your day. By focusing on what you have now, rather than fearing its loss, you cultivate a sense of peace and fulfillment. The concept of impermanence also teaches us resilience. Life will challenge us, it's inevitable. But knowing that pain, like joy, is temporary gives us the strength to endure. The discomfort you feel today will not last forever. Each moment is part of a greater flow, one that moves us forward even when we feel stuck. This knowledge can help you face difficulties with a calm and steady heart, knowing that brighter days will come. As you go about your day, take time to notice the impermanence in your surroundings. Observe how a flower blooms, fades, and falls, only to be replaced by new life. Watch how clouds drift across the sky, constantly shifting and reshaping themselves. These small, everyday reminders of change can help you internalize the truth of impermanence and carry it with you in moments of fear or uncertainty. When you embrace impermanence, you stop clinging to the idea that life should be a certain way. You learn to flow with its natural rhythm, accepting both its highs and lows with grace. Fear no longer paralyzes you because you understand that it, too, will pass. The strength you gain from this acceptance empowers you to navigate life's uncertainties with courage and an open heart. Remember, life is a series of fleeting moments, each precious in its own way. By letting go of the illusion of permanence, you open yourself to the beauty of change, the lessons of loss, and the endless possibilities that lie ahead. Lesson 2. See the illusion of fear. Fear is a master storyteller, one that whispers doubts and what-ifs into your mind, painting vivid pictures of disasters that almost never happen. It's an artist of illusion, weaving tales so convincingly that you begin to believe them. What if you fail? What if you're not good enough? What if everything falls apart? These questions spin in your mind, each one adding a layer to the story of fear. Yet, here's the liberating truth. Fear is not reality. It's just a thought, a fleeting construct of your mind. When you realize this, you unlock a power that can transform how you face life's challenges. Imagine yourself standing on the edge of a cliff. The drop below is vast, and the sight sends your heart racing. Your palms sweat, your breathing quickens, and your legs feel weak. But pause for a moment. Are you truly in danger? Are you slipping, falling, or physically at risk? Likely not. What you're experiencing is a story your mind has created, a story of falling, of pain, of loss. The cliff is just a cliff. It has no power over you, but your mind's interpretation does. This is the illusion of fear, a shadow cast by the mind, not the object itself. Fear thrives on the unknown, filling gaps with the worst-case scenarios. It tells you that if you step forward, you'll stumble. If you try, you'll fail. And yet, most of these fears are baseless. Think back to moments when fear held you back. How often did the outcomes you dreaded actually happen? More often than not, fear was wrong. The job interview you feared went better than expected. The conversation you avoided led to growth. The change you resisted opened doors you didn't even know existed. Fear builds walls where there are none, creating obstacles that exist only in your imagination. The key to dismantling these walls lies in awareness. When fear arises, pause and examine it. Ask yourself, is this fear based on fact, or is it just a thought? Often, you'll find it's the latter. Your fear is not rooted in the present moment, but in hypothetical futures that may never unfold. By bringing your attention to the now, you begin to see fear for what it truly is, a fleeting emotion, not an undeniable truth. Mindfulness is a powerful tool in this process. When fear takes hold, anchor yourself in the present moment. Focus on your breath. Inhale deeply. Hold it for a few seconds, and exhale slowly. Feel the ground beneath your feet, the air around you, the rhythm of your heartbeat. These sensations remind you that you are here, now, and that fear exists only in the stories your mind tells. The more you practice this, the easier it becomes to detach from fear's grip. Think of fear as a shadow. Shadows appear large and menacing when the light is behind you, casting them into your path. But when you turn and face the source of light, the shadow diminishes. In the same way, when you face your fears with awareness and courage, their hold weakens. Each time you step out of your comfort zone and confront what scares you, you chip away at fear's power. You grow stronger, braver, more resilient. Fear, in its essence, is not your enemy. It's a signal, a messenger. It often appears when you're on the verge of growth, stepping into the unknown. Instead of seeing it as something to be avoided, view it as a teacher. Ask yourself, what is this fear trying to show me? Perhaps it's pointing out a limitation you're ready to overcome, a boundary you're prepared to expand. Fear doesn't arise in places of comfort and familiarity. It appears when you're pushing beyond them. This perspective shifts fear from an obstacle to an opportunity. Consider the stories you tell yourself about fear. I'm not brave enough. I can't handle this. What if I fail? These narratives reinforce the illusion, keeping you stuck. But what if you rewrote the script? What if you told yourself, I'm stronger than I think, or I don't have to be perfect, I just have to try? These small shifts in perspective can dismantle the narratives of fear, replacing them with ones of possibility and courage. Fear's illusions are most potent when left unchallenged. They grow in the silence of avoidance and the darkness of unawareness. But when you shine the light of your attention on them, they lose their power. Each time you face a fear, whether it's speaking up, taking a risk, or simply sitting with discomfort, you weaken its hold. You prove to yourself that you are capable, resilient, and far stronger than you believed. Life is full of unknowns, and fear will always try to fill those spaces with doubt. But you have the power to choose a different response. When fear whispers, "What if you fail?" respond with, "What if I succeed?" When it says, "You're not ready," counter with, "I'll never know until I try." By questioning fear's stories, you break free from its illusions and reclaim your ability to act. Remember, fear is not reality. It's a fleeting thought, an emotion, a story, and like all stories, it can be rewritten. Each time you confront fear with awareness, you take control of the narrative. You become the author of your own story, one where fear doesn't dictate your actions but becomes a stepping stone to growth. Lesson 3. Practice mindfulness. Sati. Mindfulness is the simple yet profound practice of being fully present in the moment. It's about grounding yourself in the here and now, a place where fear cannot easily take root. Fear, as we've explored, thrives on time travel. It pulls you into the past, replaying moments of failure, regret, or pain. or catapults you into the future, spinning stories of potential disaster. But the present, the space you are in right now, is a sanctuary. It's where life is actually happening, and mindfulness is your key to accessing it. Imagine yourself standing on a stage, moments away from giving a presentation. Your heart races, your palms sweat, and your mind is a whirlwind of anxious thoughts. What if I forget my lines? What if they laugh? What if I fail? Fear has pulled you into a future that doesn't even exist yet, filling your mind with outcomes that may never come to pass. But then, you take a deep breath. You focus on the sensation of your feet planted firmly on the stage. You notice the rhythm of your breath, the rise and fall of your chest. Slowly, the noise in your mind quiets. This is the power of mindfulness, transforming chaos into calm, not by erasing fear, but by grounding yourself in the reality of the present moment. Mindfulness doesn't seek to eliminate fear. Instead, it shifts your relationship with it. When fear arises, the impulse is often to react impulsively, to run, to avoid, to overthink. But mindfulness creates a pause, a space where you can observe your fear without judgment. You begin to see it for what it is, a passing emotion, not an unchangeable truth. This shift gives you the clarity to respond thoughtfully, rather than being swept away by fear's intensity. The practice of mindfulness is both accessible and transformative. It begins with something as simple as your breath. When fear creeps in, stop and take a moment to breathe deeply. Inhale through your nose, feeling the cool air enter your body. Hold it for a few seconds, then exhale slowly through your mouth, releasing tension with each breath. This act of mindful breathing does more than calm your body. It brings your attention to the present. Each breath becomes an anchor, tethering you to the here and now. Beyond breathing, mindfulness invites you to engage your senses. Fear often traps you in your mind, where thoughts spiral and multiply. But your senses can pull you back to reality. Take a moment to notice the colors around you, the way sunlight filters through a window or the patterns on a nearby surface. Listen to the sounds in your environment, whether it's the hum of a distant car or the chirping of birds. Feel the textures under your fingertips, the ground beneath your feet, or the warmth of your skin. These small acts of sensory awareness can break fear's hold, reminding you that life exists beyond your anxious thoughts. Incorporating mindfulness into your daily routine doesn't require grand gestures or hours of meditation. It's about finding moments in the ordinary. When you drink your morning coffee, pause to notice its aroma and warmth. When you walk, feel the rhythm of your steps and the ground supporting you. Even in moments of stress, like waiting in traffic or standing in a long line, mindfulness can transform frustration into an opportunity for presence. These practices may seem small, but their impact is profound. Over time, they rewire your mind to find calm amidst chaos. Mindfulness also helps you cultivate a deeper understanding of your fear. Instead of avoiding it, you learn to sit with it, to observe it without letting it consume you. This process is not always comfortable. Fear may feel overwhelming at first, but by practicing mindfulness, you begin to see it as transient, a wave that rises and falls, but never stays. Each time you face your fear mindfully, you build resilience. You prove to yourself that you can endure discomfort without being defined by it. One of the most beautiful aspects of mindfulness is its ability to create compassion, both for yourself and for others. When you observe your own fear without judgment, you develop a sense of kindness toward yourself. You stop seeing fear as a weakness and start recognizing it as a natural part of being human. This self-compassion extends outward, allowing you to empathize with others who experience fear. It reminds you that we are all navigating uncertainties, each of us seeking peace in our own way. Mindfulness also reveals the impermanence of fear. No matter how intense it feels in the moment, fear, like all emotions, is temporary. It comes and goes, just like waves on the shore. When you understand this, fear loses much of its power. You no longer see it as a permanent fixture, but as a passing cloud in the vast sky of your mind. This awareness brings a sense of freedom, a realization that you are not your fear. You are the observer of it, the steady presence beneath the storm. The journey of mindfulness is not about perfection. There will be days when fear feels overwhelming, when staying present seems impossible. But mindfulness isn't about eliminating fear or achieving constant calm. It's about showing up, moment by moment, with a willingness to be present. It's about recognizing that each breath is an opportunity to begin again. As you continue to practice mindfulness, you'll find that it transforms not only how you handle fear, but how you experience life. The mundane becomes meaningful, the stressful becomes manageable, and the fearful becomes less intimidating. You begin to see life not as something to be controlled, but as something to be experienced fully, with all its highs and lows. Fear may still arise, as it is a natural part of life. But with mindfulness, you no longer have to let it dictate your choices. You have the tools to anchor yourself, to face the unknown with grace and curiosity. Mindfulness is not just a practice, it's a way of being, a path to freedom from the stories that fear tells. In the present moment, fear fades, and clarity emerges. And in that clarity, you find the strength to navigate life with courage and peace. Lesson 4. Understand the nature of suffering. Dukkha, fear, like all forms of suffering, is deeply intertwined with our human experience. In Buddhism, this suffering, referred to as dukkha, is not seen as a failure or a punishment, but as an inherent part of life. It arises when we resist reality, cling to what is fleeting, or expect the world to conform to our desires. This truth, though difficult to accept at first, offers profound wisdom. When we understand the nature of suffering, we can approach fear with greater clarity, compassion, and strength. Think for a moment about the fears that have visited you. Perhaps it's the fear of failure, the ache of rejection, or the unsettling anxiety of the unknown. These fears may feel uniquely personal, as though you're carrying a burden no one else could possibly understand. But here's the comforting truth: you're not alone. Fear is universal. Everyone, at some point in their lives, has felt its grip. The context may differ. What frightens one person may not faze another, but the experience of fear is something we all share. Recognizing this can shift the way you view your struggles. Instead of seeing fear as a flaw or a weakness, you begin to see it as part of being human. Suffering, in its many forms, often stems from our resistance to the natural flow of life. We long for certainty in an uncertain world, security in a universe that is ever-changing. This resistance creates tension, and from that tension, fear emerges. Imagine holding tightly to a rope while someone pulls on the other end. The harder you grip, the more your hands ache. Now imagine letting go. The tension disappears, and with it, the pain. In much the same way, our clinging, whether to outcomes, relationships, or identities, intensifies our suffering. By loosening our grip, we begin to ease the fear that accompanies it. Understanding this doesn't mean that fear or suffering will vanish overnight. Life will continue to present challenges, and fear will still arise. But when you recognize that suffering is universal and impermanent, it becomes less overwhelming. Fear loses its isolating power. Instead of viewing it as something to fight against, you start to see it as something to understand, to navigate, and even to learn from. One of the most transformative aspects of this understanding is the compassion it fosters, both for yourself and for others. When you realize that everyone experiences fear, it becomes easier to approach yourself with kindness. You stop judging your fear as a sign of weakness and start accepting it as a natural response to life's uncertainties. This self-compassion is a powerful antidote to the shame or guilt that often accompanies fear. It reminds you that you're not broken. You're simply human. This awareness extends outward. 2. When you see others struggling with their fears, you feel less inclined to judge and more inclined to empathize. You recognize their suffering as a reflection of your own, and in that recognition, a sense of connection emerges. Fear, which so often isolates us, becomes a bridge, a reminder of our shared humanity. Consider, 2. The ways in which understanding the nature of suffering can transform your approach to fear. Instead of avoiding or suppressing it, you begin to explore it with curiosity. What is this fear trying to tell you? Is it pointing to something you need to address, a boundary you need to set, or a step you need to take? Fear often carries hidden wisdom. But we can only access it when we stop running from it. By sitting with your fear, observing it without judgment, you create space for insight to arise. It's also helpful to remember that fear, like all emotions, is impermanent. In the moment, it may feel all-encompassing, as though it will last forever. But just as a storm eventually clears, fear, too, will pass. When you anchor yourself in this understanding, you gain the resilience to weather fear's intensity. You know it's not permanent, and this knowledge gives you the strength to endure. Reflect for a moment on a time when you faced a fear and came out stronger on the other side. Perhaps it was a difficult conversation, a big decision, or a leap of faith. In the moment, the fear may have felt insurmountable, but looking back, you can see how it shaped you, how it taught you something about yourself, about life, or about your own strength. This is the paradox of fear and suffering. While they can feel like obstacles, they often become the catalyst for growth. The Buddhist teachings on dukkha don't promise a life free of suffering or fear. Instead, they offer a path to freedom within it. By understanding the nature of suffering, you learn to navigate fear with wisdom and grace. You stop viewing it as an enemy to be defeated and start seeing it as a companion on the journey, a teacher that challenges you to grow, to let go, and to embrace life as it is. Each time you face your fears with this understanding, you cultivate a deeper sense of peace. You realize that fear doesn't define you. It's simply a part of your experience. And in that realization, you find freedom, the freedom to live fully. Even in the presence of uncertainty, fear may still visit, but it no longer controls you. You've seen through its illusion, and now you walk with it, not against it, carrying the wisdom of compassion and the strength of resilience. Lesson 5. Let go of attachment. Tanha, attachment, or tanha, is the deep craving for permanence in a world that is constantly changing. It's the longing to hold on tightly to relationships, possessions, achievements, and even the identities we create for ourselves. We believe these attachments will give us security, fulfillment, and control over life's uncertainties. But in reality, this clinging often becomes the root of our fear, the fear of losing what we value most. This fear binds us, creating a cycle of anxiety and dissatisfaction as we try to protect something that was never meant to remain static. Imagine holding a handful of sand. If you clutch it tightly, trying to keep every grain, it slips through your fingers even faster. But if you hold it gently, with an open palm, the sand stays. Life, too, is like that sand, delicate, impermanent, and impossible to fully control. Letting go doesn't mean you stop caring or become detached in a cold, indifferent way. It means learning to hold life lightly, appreciating what you have without clinging to it as your sole source of happiness. Think about the attachments in your own life. Perhaps it's a career you've worked tirelessly to build, a relationship you've poured your heart into, or even an image of who you think you should be. These things, while meaningful, are not permanent. Jobs change, relationships evolve, and personal identities shift. Yet, we often base our sense of self-worth and stability on these external factors, convincing ourselves that we can't be whole without them. This belief creates a fragile foundation, one that crumbles the moment life inevitably changes. Letting go of attachment doesn't mean you give up your ambitions, relationships, or passions. It means you stop defining yourself by them. It means shifting your focus from owning to experiencing. Instead of fixating on outcomes, you learn to immerse yourself in the process. For example, when striving for a promotion, concentrate on doing your best work, not on the title or recognition you hope to gain. When you love someone, cherish the moments you share rather than fearing the possibility of losing them. By focusing on the present experience rather than the uncertain future, you free yourself from the anxiety that attachment brings. True freedom doesn't come from clinging to external things. It comes from understanding that nothing outside of yourself can provide lasting peace. External circumstances, no matter how favorable, are subject to change. The only constant is the peace you cultivate within. This realization can feel daunting at first, as it challenges the way many of us have been taught to find security. But it's also profoundly liberating. It means that your happiness is not at the mercy of an unpredictable world. It lies within your control, rooted in your ability to let go and embrace impermanence. Consider how attachment affects the way you navigate life's uncertainties. When you cling tightly to a specific outcome or person, you may find yourself consumed by fear. What if things don't go as planned? What if you lose what you've worked so hard to keep? This fear can paralyze you, holding you back from taking risks or exploring new possibilities. But when you release attachment, you create space for growth. You begin to see life's changes not as threats, but as opportunities to adapt, evolve, and discover new paths. Letting go also allows you to experience relationships more deeply. When you're attached to someone in an unhealthy way, your connection can become burdened by expectations and fears. You may unconsciously try to control the relationship, hoping to prevent loss or disappointment. But true love isn't about possession, it's about presence. It's about showing up fully, appreciating the other person for who they are, and allowing the relationship to evolve naturally. By releasing attachment, you create a space for genuine connection, free from the constraints of fear and control. Releasing attachment is not a one-time decision, it's a practice. It requires mindfulness and self-awareness, as well as a willingness to confront your fears and let go of old patterns. One way to start is by reflecting on the impermanence of everything around you. Notice how the seasons change, how a flower blooms and fades, how even the strongest structures eventually erode. These reminders can help you internalize the truth that clinging to what is temporary only causes suffering. Another powerful practice is gratitude. When you focus on what you have in the present moment, rather than what you fear losing, you shift your mindset from scarcity to abundance. Gratitude grounds you in the now, reminding you that life is not about what you possess, but about how you experience it. Each moment, no matter how fleeting, is a gift. It's also helpful to examine your attachments and ask yourself why you hold on so tightly. Are you seeking validation, security, or a sense of identity? Once you understand the underlying need, you can begin to address it from within, rather than relying on external sources. For example, if you're attached to success because it validates your self-worth, consider how you can cultivate a sense of worthiness independent of your achievements. Letting go of attachment is like lightening a heavy load. When you release the need to control everything, you become free to move through life with greater ease and grace. You stop resisting change and start flowing with it. This doesn't mean you won't feel fear or loss. It means those feelings won't define you. They become part of your journey, not barriers to it. In letting go, you don't lose anything essential. You gain freedom. You gain clarity. You gain the ability to fully experience life without the constant weight of fear. This doesn't mean you'll never face challenges or heartache. But when you're not clinging to what is impermanent, you can approach those challenges with a steadiness that comes from within. You can embrace the beauty of each moment, knowing that it doesn't have to last forever to have meaning. Lesson 6. Cultivate patience. Kanti. Impatience is often the quiet force that feeds our fears. When faced with uncertainty, we instinctively crave immediate answers and quick resolutions. We want reassurance, a clear path forward, and the comfort of knowing how things will turn out. But life rarely moves at the speed we desire. It unfolds at its own pace, guided by rhythms and timing we cannot control. Patience, or Kanti, offers us a way to navigate this discomfort. It teaches us to sit with the unknown, to trust the process, and to embrace the journey rather than fixating solely on the destination. Think about a time when impatience got the better of you. Perhaps you were waiting for an important decision, like the outcome of a job interview or a medical test. The waiting felt unbearable, and your mind filled the silence with worst-case scenarios. Impatience transformed the unknown into a source of fear, making you restless and anxious. But what if, instead of resisting that uncertainty, you had leaned into it with patience? What if you had trusted that, in time, clarity would come? Patience is not passive. It's not about sitting idly by or resigning yourself to whatever happens. Instead, patience is an active choice, a decision to endure discomfort with grace and strength. It's about creating space between the stimulus and your response, allowing yourself the time and calm to face challenges thoughtfully. When you cultivate patience, you build resilience. You develop the ability to withstand the discomfort of uncertainty without letting it overwhelm you. In many ways, impatience is rooted in a lack of trust in yourself, in others, and in the unfolding of life. When we're impatient, we often believe that things must happen on our timeline, that we know best, or that we won't be able to handle the outcomes we fear. But patience challenges these beliefs. It invites you to trust that growth, healing, and resolution take time. It asks you to have faith in your ability to navigate whatever comes your way, even if it's not what you expected. Practicing patience begins with a shift in perspective. Instead of seeing waiting as wasted time, view it as an opportunity for reflection, growth, and presence. When you're stuck in traffic or waiting in line, for example, resist the urge to reach for your phone or fume in frustration. Instead, take a deep breath and notice the world around you. Observe the small details, the way sunlight filters through the leaves, the rhythm of your breath, or the conversations happening nearby. These moments, though seemingly insignificant, are opportunities to practice mindfulness and cultivate patience. Patience also requires kindness, especially toward yourself. When you're striving for a goal or learning something new, it's easy to become frustrated with your progress. You might feel like you're not moving fast enough or achieving as much as you should. But growth is rarely linear. There will be setbacks, plateaus, and moments of doubt. Patience reminds you to treat yourself with the same compassion you'd offer a friend. Celebrate small victories, acknowledge your efforts, and remember that progress is still progress, no matter how slow it feels. In relationships, patience can be a transformative force. It helps you approach others with understanding, even when their actions or decisions don't align with your expectations. It allows you to listen more deeply, to respond rather than react, and to hold space for others as they navigate their own challenges. When you practice patience in your relationships, you create a foundation of trust and respect, allowing connections to flourish even in difficult times. One of the most powerful aspects of patience is its ability to transform fear. Fear often thrives on urgency, the belief that you must act now or risk losing control. But patience slows you down. It gives you the strength to sit with discomfort and the wisdom to see fear as temporary. When you're patient, you don't need to have all the answers immediately. You can take your time, explore your options, and make decisions from a place of clarity rather than panic. Patience turns fear into a learning experience, a teacher that helps you grow stronger and more self-assured. Cultivating patience doesn't mean you won't feel frustrated, anxious, or afraid. Those emotions are natural, and they're part of the human experience. But patience gives you the tools to navigate them without being consumed by them. It helps you pause, breathe, and remind yourself that this moment, no matter how challenging, is not permanent. With patience, you can weather the storm, knowing that the skies will eventually clear. In moments of uncertainty, remind yourself that everything in life takes time. Seeds don't sprout into trees overnight, and even the most magnificent flowers require seasons of care before they bloom. Your journey is no different. Whether you're building a career, nurturing a relationship, or healing from a loss, patience is the soil in which your growth takes root. It gives you the space to learn, adapt, and become. Patience is not always easy. It requires effort, practice, and a willingness to let go of control. But the rewards are profound. When you cultivate patience, you cultivate peace. You learn to move through life with greater ease, accepting its uncertainties with grace. You discover that you are capable of enduring far more than you thought, and that in the stillness of waiting, there is strength. Each time you choose patience, you choose courage. You choose to trust in yourself, in others, and in the natural flow of life. And with each choice, you build a foundation of resilience that will carry you through even the most uncertain times. Patience is not just a virtue, it's a path to freedom. It liberates you from the grip of fear and frustration, allowing you to live fully in the present moment. In the space patience creates, you find not only peace, but also the clarity to see life for what it truly is, a journey of growth, discovery, an endless possibility. Fear doesn't have to be the shadow that looms over your life. It doesn't have to define your choices or limit the paths you take. Instead, fear can become a teacher, a quiet but powerful guide showing you where growth and transformation await. The Buddhist teachings we've explored, embracing impermanence, practicing mindfulness, releasing attachment, and cultivating patience, offer a roadmap to navigate fear with courage and grace. These lessons are not abstract philosophies, they are practical tools, inviting you to shift your perspective and step into a life of greater freedom and peace. When you pause to observe your fear instead of running from it, something remarkable happens. Fear loses its overwhelming power. It becomes a signal, not a stop sign, a reminder that you're standing on the edge of something meaningful. It might be uncomfortable, even daunting, but it's also an invitation to grow. Each time you face your fear, you take one step closer to the life you deserve, a life filled with resilience, clarity, and a deeper sense of purpose. As you begin to apply these teachings to your own life, you'll likely notice subtle yet profound changes. The weight of fear starts to lighten, replaced by a quiet confidence in your ability to face challenges. You might find yourself embracing the uncertainties that once felt intimidating, viewing them not as threats but as opportunities for discovery. And as you cultivate mindfulness, patience, and a willingness to let go, you create space for joy, connection, and inner peace to flourish. Remember, this journey is not about perfection. There will be moments when fear feels overwhelming, when patience is hard to find, and when letting go seems impossible. But each moment is an opportunity to begin again. Growth is not linear. It's a process, one that unfolds in its own time. Be kind to yourself as you navigate this path. Celebrate the small victories, the moments when you choose courage over comfort, and the times when you show up fully, even in the face of uncertainty. We'd love to hear your thoughts on this journey. What resonated with you? Which teachings felt most meaningful? And how do you plan to integrate them into your life? Share your reflections in the comments. Your perspective might inspire someone else who is navigating their own fears. Let's create a space of support and positivity, where we can learn and grow together. If this video has sparked something within you, if it's offered a new perspective or a sense of hope, we encourage you to share it with someone who might need it. Perhaps there's a friend, a family member, or a colleague who could benefit from these insights. And don't forget to like and subscribe so we can continue exploring these transformative teachings together. Thank you for spending your time with us today. Your willingness to engage with these ideas and reflect on your own journey is a testament to your courage and openness. You are not alone in this process, and with each step, you are moving closer to a life defined not by fear, but by freedom, peace, and purpose. Remember, you have the strength within you to face anything that comes your way. Take a deep breath, trust in your resilience, and know that the life you dream of is waiting on the other side of fear. Let's walk this path together, one mindful step at a time.